And we are back. I do apologize for the lengthy break. I needed to make a phone call. And I may have to run off for a minute or two. Someone is delivering something later on, and I kind of need to go and make receival. So if I suddenly just disappear, it's just to go fetch the package quick, and then I'll be uh, back again. Okay, so unfortunately not. um, Picking up fuses, industrial fuses. So that'll be interesting. Then it's not important. Yeah, I know. All right, where were we? We needed to add a few more glyphs to the encoding stuff. So let's get those done. So that's another row of, dang, I need to see if I can make these the right direction. That was the wrong direction, so this one, um, which then goes at 160. It's not always easy remembering which way these accents need to be facing when you're not using them every day. I, O, U, and then the N tilde in lower and uppercase, and then I think we'll just leave it at that. So this would be the I, 161, whoops, there we go, the O, 162, A, I, O, U, A, I, O, U, yes. So that one, kind of curious to know how those are actually pronounced, but I don't know French all that well, so I guess I'll leave that in the case of mysteries. The N tilde, which is not that one, so this one, yep, there it is. Okay, 164. That would be the uppercase one, like so. And then we'll check to see what other symbols we may need to, whoops, there we go. All right, let's check. So that one is, I guess we don't really need to encode those. But I do know that some communities actually make use of the upside down question mark, so we might want to include that. Feminine ordinal indicator, I have no idea whether these are needed or not, but I guess we could add them in. Yeah, we'll add them in. We'll see. Copy this one, because why not? And then the O thingamajig, that would be this one, masculine ordinal. There we go. 167. And then the upside down question mark thingamajig is the next one. Yep. Just verifying that these are inverted question mark. Copy that one. And we probably also want to put in the quarter and half symbols there. So that's Hmm. Interesting that they put that one in there. We'll skip that, and we'll skip that. Half and quarter. So we'll skip 2. So this one would be the R symbol, and that one would be the 169, and the not symbol at 170, and then we'll do the half first? Yeah, half symbol. I know it's on my keyboard somewhere, but I can never remember how to do it. So I'll copy it from here, like so, which is then at 171. And then the quarter symbol, is it here? Ah, okay. So that one goes, yeah, easy, easy, easy. No exploding in my face today, please. Thank you. We'll grab the quarter, copy that one, put it in there, and we should be good. So that's 172. And that should take care of this one. And the final one is an I there. For whatever reason, or is it? Ah, it's actually an inverted exclamation mark. Yeah, let's grab that one as well. Might come in handy. Since we have the inverted question mark, we might as well grab this one. All right, so that for the most part should be it. Those two are left pointing double angle quotation marks and right pointing double angle quotation marks. Yeah, we'll grab those as well. Just because that will then finish off the line for us. So that one, 174, and then we'll need the other one for completing the set, like so. And we should be fine. All right, so the rest of them we will simply encode into a regular question mark, and that's it. All right. This has actually become a quite lengthy setup. In any case, anything that doesn't fall within our selection of characters will then become a question mark, so we can still render something in place of the character itself. Actually, is there a degree set up here? No, there isn't. All right, so we'll just leave it as is. That should be fine. Okay, so this should then take care of doing all of the proper ASCII encoding for us, so we can get correct glyph references when we need to draw a glyph according to whatever text we're putting into it. And since we don't need any of these, we'll get rid of them. But this will then take care of doing the actual ASCII encoding for us. And if memory serves, the chat converter possibly, or is it the other one? I can't remember. One of these makes use of some ASCII conversion. Or is it part of the chat element? I can't remember. We put it in here somewhere. There's a conversion of it. But we'll go through and get those fixed when we start building the custom user control for it, and then take it from there. It should be in here somewhere. That one. Let's see. Those would be so it should actually be up here somewhere. Chat text. Let's see. That one. Control codes. I thought we had some settings in here somewhere. Oh. Quick and easy way of figuring that out is just to do a quick search and see if it's not in this one. Okay, so we have a in here it definitely should be. Let's see. Convert the default UTF-16 string into ASCII. So this is the place where we will you make use of our ASCII encoder, I think we'll call it. Instead, yeah, we'll rename it to ASCII encoder. That's probably a little better. ASCII encoder, and then we'll rename it here as well. There we go. And then we'll see if we can import it. Using C# glyphs encoders. Thank you very much. And let's see if we can find any other occurrences. It doesn't look like it, so that's basically it. Oh, here is another one. Get rid of that one. Encoder. There we go, using our custom setup. And since we've now fixed this, we can get rid of that to do. And we can get rid of this using our custom ASCII encoder to handle conversion. There we go. And we'll do a little bit more. Convert the default using our custom encoder. There we go. And that should basically be it. Just to make absolutely sure that we've got all of it, we should be fine. All right. So this should now be more capable of rendering, converting all of these into the correct glyph references. So the next part of it, oh yeah, coffee, that's actually a brand idea. Cheers, mate. Awesome. Alrighty. So next part of this would be to see if we can construct a fresh user control that can do all of this custom text rendering stuff for us, and possibly put in let us put in the editing of actually let's grab this one quick just to recap. So let's get that one up here, and just for testing purposes we'll put this button in here, and then custom text, new one of these, and then and of course we need to dispose of it afterwards. There we go. All right, so this is just to do a quick recap of what it looks like. Interesting. Oh right, it probably needs some kind of text in there. Yeah, it does. All right, so we'll put custom text, blah blah blah. Good. Let's see what happens. Nope, it still doesn't want to load. Okay, so Let's see, set glyph resource, but add the resources derped up again. Let's just do a quick check. No, it's in there, so it should be fine. All right. Weird. Let's see what happens here. Build color, build format. Ah, okay. I'm being a derp. Show dialog. There we go. Yeah, go. There we go. Okay, so this is the current setup, which lets us do things like bold and blue and green and whatever. So I'm kind of thinking that it might be interesting to see if we can come up with a user control that basically has everything that's in this dialog, except maybe the text box here, but still lets us do this text customization, so we can do a simulation of what it will look like when the game is running. But by having, excuse me, by having a custom user control, we can then drop that onto the configuration dialog right here as part of the message of the day. When one of these two gains focus, we can basically pop the whatchamacallits, the user control, and have it show a sample of what this will look like as we type them in. We may run into a tiny issue in terms of being able to manipulate the contents of the text box, but with a little bit of trickery, we should be able to fix that particular issue. Though the instant that we start clicking stuff in the user control, we will basically lose focus on the text box. So that's a very good question. Google Translate, I guess, and then hope to God that it translates something that can be understood. One of the issues that we will run into is if we click one of the, say, colors in the user control, then we will effectively lose focus on the text box that would otherwise be showing the user control that's rendering the text for us. So we may have to come up with a different way of handling those particular issues, though. With the text box handling trickery stuff, we could potentially create a workaround of that particular issue. So we'll see what we can get working. Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's get rid of this. And then we can kill off the extra button that we put in here again, because we don't need it anymore. So get rid of that one. And let us get rid of this one, and we should be fine. All right. So we shall need a new actually, we'll go down here and make we'll call this Minecraft text view. Yeah, that should be fine. And we need a user control. So call this one Minecraft text view. There we go. And then we'll need some kind of default size for it. This will do, I guess. And get some of this stuff set up to its default. There we go. And I can't remember if I actually did a namespace change on this one. No, I didn't. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. User control events. There we go. And on this one, we will be doing a bunch of custom rendering, just like we did on originally on the custom text dialog, except in this case we're doing it on the surface of a user control. For the most part, most of the actual rendering stuff is pretty much identical. So it shouldn't be all that big of an issue, at least migrating some of the code over in terms of how it's being rendered and such. But just for the sake of keeping things in, let's see, optimize double buffer and do some resize redraw and interesting, we might actually be able to set selectable false. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. So we'll go through and grab the selectable and set that one to false, and we should be fine. Alright, so these are all settings for handling drawing. Set settings for handling how the control is drawn. And this should then prevent the user control from gaining focus. So we'll see if this works. All right. If I haven't really messed about with this particular setting, so we'll see if it works. If this works the way I think it does, then that should prevent the user control from ever gaining focus, even though we may be mouse clicking inside it. It shouldn't get focus, which means it doesn't steal focus from the text box that's currently active. So we should be fine there. What we will be doing is constructing this user control to let us basically configure a specific text box, so we can effectively hook the events of that particular text box and communicate with it, get its selection start, selection length and such, so we can correctly put in the control tags to control the text formatting as well as the text colors. But we'll see how we can get this working. Now we may want to see about perhaps letting this user control have a maximum size that matches let's see, the UI samples, the space available on these, for example. Hey Jobon, good to see you. Let's see if, yeah. See here we actually have a predetermined size in terms of how much or how many pixels we can render per line, um, which basically lets us cut off the text if it becomes too long to fit the line itself. Because the game client will effectively only allow a certain length of these to be rendered. Not quite sure whether it cuts off the text or just renders on top of the or underneath maybe the tick or the V or the modded symbol, depending which one it needs to render. But we could potentially try and work out the space available and then restrict the user control in terms of how far it will allow the text to be rendered. But we'll see where this all leads. In any case, we do know that for this control we need to grab some mouse handling stuff because we need to be able to detect the mouse moving across the control. We need to detect hitbox stuff so we can hit the individual color squares correctly and so on and so forth. So we definitely need to put some mouse handling in here. And we also need to put some actual surface rendering in here in terms of the paint event at least. So for now we will grab the paint event like so, and then we'll add the actual user control surface rendering stuffs. There we go. We need to hook the let's see, we need the mouse click because we only need the standard left click events for things like color selection and text formatting. So we'll just grab the standard mouse click event like so. And for hover effects, we also need the mouse move event. So we'll grab that as well. Then we need some way of referencing or capturing stuff going on in the text box. So we can basically hook these things correctly. So let's see if we can come up with some way of basically telling this control to adopt a specific text box for handling all this stuff. In terms of let's see, we'll move that down here instead, I think. Text box control handling. So one of the things that we can do is that we can set this up to basically just adopt whatever size we've set here, and then we'll cut off the rendering of the font depending on the length of it versus how much space is available. So we'll do some calculations across there. All right. Region-driven development, yeah. All right, so yeah, I know you do. Sorry, it's all part of it. It just lets me get rid of some of the stuff, so it doesn't have to be shown when describing parts of the code. In any way, we know for a fact that we need to, in some way, shape, or form, set up which text box to basically hook into. Um, Now, this will probably contain a little bit of experimentation on my part because I haven't actually done this particular setup that I intend to attempt before. So whether it will work or not, we will have to see. Um, I'm not entirely sure whether this will function the way um, I'm hoping, so we may run into some trouble, but we'll see. Um, okay, so for let's do a quick run of this. So for the message of the day setup, um, the user control needs to be able to accept two text boxes basically. And depending which one is active, of course, that will render or let us edit one or the other line. For all of this scheduled stuff, it only needs to accept one text box because each of these will be different. Although we still need to be able to throw the prompt in there. So in effect, this could potentially be a setup of two text boxes as well, but with a different way of controlling it. So let's try and see if we can put two text box links in here somehow. Okay. Oh, on this one, the main reason it's looking a little bit messy like this at the moment is because we haven't implemented any of the controlling code for this just yet. I'll show you the form, what it looks like. Let's see, the config dialog is right there. See, the thing is that I've basically positioned these where I want them to sit. So let's see, 4182. Basically, it's because it's overlapping a different group in here with different contents. And when I implement the last bit of code that will handle basically when parts of this particular UI will be visible and invisible, all of this will fall in place the way it's supposed to. I just didn't get around to it last time around because I was basically dying because of the heat and ended up being completely burned out and kind of had to end up early. Well, that kind of depends on the environment, I guess. For the most part, if you're just doing some hobby development like I'm doing here, you can do it on the Community Edition, which is free. The instant you need to basically migrate your development into an actual corporate setup or a business setup, then you will most likely have to go buy one of the licenses for it. Depending on the actual setup itself. If you're a one-man small developer, one single-man company, self-employed, I believe Microsoft does have some kind of allowance for very small companies in terms of using the community edition. But if you go corporate with it, then you should probably go buy one of the two licenses that are available. But for pretty much anything that you could think of doing outside some kind of business, you can easily use the community edition, which is free. So shouldn't be a problem. Even if I end up, say, for example, taking donations here, I'm still free to use the community edition because I'm not doing any of this development as part of a corporate structure that leads to commercial software in any way, shape, or form. So for most situations, you can use the free community edition. Shouldn't be a problem. I mean, if I at some point start a company and start doing actual commercial software, then I will most likely have to go buy a license for Visual Studio. But at the moment, I don't have to, since I don't have a company. And none of this is planned for commercial use anyway, so should be fine. But the major reason it's showing up like this is simply because I haven't implemented any of the control or handling code for any of this stuff yet. I could actually just set this one to invisible, and this one should also be invisible, since that depends on what this checkbox says. So if I do this and have a look at it again, it now looks a lot better. Ta-da! Right. So let's see if we can get some stuff done here. For this setup, we may want to let's see. We definitely do need to hook the focus stuff, and we also need to hang on a second. If we hook the focus gain on the form itself and then the text changed should be enough. Yeah, we'll see what we can get working here. Text box, and this would then be the text box line 1, and we'll need another one for the text box line 2, and then we'll need a method for linking them. So we'll do let's see, public method let's see, hook text boxes, and then we'll text box let's see, text box 1, and we'll do the other one, text box 2, and then we'll see if we can get this working. So let's see if we can text box line 1. For this we need the text changed. So for now we will just grab this so we can grab the events internally here, and then we'll hook them. For this one we need the first one and we need the second one, so we'll set this one up to become line 2. There we go. Alright, so text box line 1 equals text box 1, and text box line 2 equals text box 2, and then we'll see if we can text changed, and use this one like so. And then we'll do the same thing for the other one for line 2, and then we'll hope to God this works. All right. So if either one of these changes, then we'll basically need to actually, why don't we just do text box text changed, because the only thing we need this event for is to force an update of the surface of the user control. So here we'll simply just do invalidate, which invalidates the current surface of the current control, in this case our new user control. And in doing so, we force the paint event to trigger, so we can redraw the entire surface. Okay, so these would then hook those, and we should be fine. Yeah. All right. Now, when we start drawing all this stuff, we kind of need to make sure that the two text box variables here, that they are actually that they control that they are set to a text box object. So we'll need to make sure that they are not null before we start drawing stuff. So we will do a quick check to make sure that they are not null, like so. And only when both of them are not null, we can render our custom surface. In all other cases, we basically just ignore it. All right. So we also know that we are going to need our custom Minecraft font stuff, this one. So we need to put that in here. And then we need to probably go look in the other dialog and see if we can replicate some of the rendering code to let us set up the color selection and the whatchamacallits, the text formatting buttons for bold, italic, underline, and so on, because we need those as well. This time around, though, I think we will cheat a little bit and do the actual buttons a little bit differently. And we may want to set up whatchamacallits, the no cheating. Yeah, we'll cheat a little bit and do some small 3D effect stuff for the button, just to see if we can make it look nice. All right. We definitely need the Minecraft font stuff. Let's have a look at the dialog here. Not this one. This one was the one that I wanted. So the only thing that we do for this one is basically just instantiate it, and then we pass the bitmap that contains the glyphs to it later on. Rendering stuff to form, which is done through the load dialog. So this is basically it. We also force it to become double-sized. So we'll grab a copy of this and migrate it over to our user control. So we'll put that here. Actually, we need some. Need to import the. Whoa. That's not what I wanted. Oh well. Right. We also need to internal helper methods. Grab the resource thingamajig from over here. Nope. From over here, that one. Get resource bitmap by name. So we'll copy that. There we go. And then we'll go down to the load method down here, load event, and then replicate this so we can get the font bitmap font enabled. There we go. Not once. That's actually one area where I have never had any kind of, and knock on wood, I have never had that kind of bad stuff happen to my code. As part of welcome back, Oos. As part of my web development career, I was among the very few people in the beginning that actually paid attention to account security when it comes to login systems for websites, in terms of creating anonymous accounts. So stuff like signing up to, say, Stack Overflow or something like that, where it's basically an anonymous account. You pick a username, hand in your email address, and choose a password, and that's it. So anonymous account creation like that. I was among the initial few that actually paid attention to that stuff, and did password encoding fairly early on. To protect people's passwords in case somebody decided to steal the database, which does happen. Hackers break into a server somewhere, basically shut down the database server, and then steal the database files, or they hack some account to the SQL server, and then steal all the different databases, all the tables in each database, and all the records. So they can steal user accounts. It happens. But since I started early on employing password protection, I have yet to be attacked on any on my products and have the passwords be compromised. That has never, as of yet, happened to any of my products. And I pay a lot of attention to I pay a lot of attention to at least password protection. Depending on basically the degree. Depending on the degree of protection required, I make use of existing algorithms or build something myself. The password protection that I'm employing on my future media hub for this stream and the basically my small streaming community here. It'll host my current stream projects, the progress on them, suggestion boxes and whatnot, and I am building up anonymous account sign-up stuff with full-on password protection. Initially, it makes use of SHA-512 hashing before the password is sent over the internet to my web server, and I further do custom encryption server side to further protect the actual password itself, which will lead to basically some setups where even putting the check mark in remember my account in terms of writing a cookie on effectively your computer leads to what looks like garbage and doesn't even make any sense if for some unbelievable reason somebody manages to get past my security and steal my database. Basically, it's sitting behind both a firewall and a router that prevents any kind of access from the outside. So I don't have the actual password whatsoever. I don't ever get it. The only thing that I do get is the SHA-512 hash of whatever password you typed into the password box when you created your account, or if you change your password at some point. I only get the hash. That's it. The hash itself is stored. However, it is heavily encoded, encrypted, and moved about. So figuring out what the actual hash is from the database data or the cookie data will be fairly difficult doing unless you can actually manage to get hold of the source code for it. Uh, in that case, it'll be a little easier figuring out how it's set up, but decoding it will probably be fairly difficult doing. I know that there are yeah, it can be pretty scary looking at it, and I do know that some of my accounts have been compromised. I also know which sites have compromised my email addresses, so and the reason why they were compromised. And yeah, it can be pretty scary looking through those, no doubt about that. I also know that there is a database online somewhere with over 1 billion different SHA-512 hashes that potentially could be used to attempt to look up what your password hash might be. Um, and the database grows basically daily. So that's the brute force reverse engineering of the hash, building an actual routine that can reverse a hash into its original is nigh on impossible. So the only other way to compromise it is basically by building a database like that, so you can look up the hash and see what potential sources could be the ones associated with this particular hash. Well, most of my emails have been around for 20 to 25 years, so no wonder I've been compromised at one time or another. Though none of them have actually been hacked on my end yet. And again, knock on wood. Okay, so where were we? We were looking at the glyph stuff is set up, so we should be good on that. And all right, let's get that custom dialog again. Did I remove it? Yeah, I think I did. Yes. Dang it, you were too fast, my dear friend. Then we shall have to put it back in. Give me a button. I need a button. Give me a button. Button, please. Custom text dialog thingy. New one of those. Dialog dot custom text. Blah 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 something. Green, green, blue, and what's not. There we go. And then we'll do the show dialog to get it modal to this one, and we'll dispose of it. Yeah, we'll definitely display triangle it. There we go. All right. So what do we need it to render? We need it to render blah, blah, blah. So we also need to grab these, whatchamacallit, there is little to no difference between the community edition and the licensed versions of Visual Studio. The primary thing is what you are allowed to use it for, and what kind of additional team integration comes with whichever version of Visual Studio you're using. If you go commercial with it in terms of doing commercial development, as in running a development company, then you will most likely have to buy a license for it, either getting the Pro version or the Enterprise version. Both of them come with some amount of team integration, some amount of source code repository for storing team-based development source code, stuff like that. However, if you're doing non-commercial development, as in hobby development, then you don't have to buy it. You're perfectly fine to use the community edition, just like I am. If you're doing educational-based projects, you're perfectly fine to use the community edition. It is, for the most part, as far as I know, regarding the licenses, the instant you step into commercial development, then you need to buy a license for it. In all other cases, you can use the community edition perfectly fine. Okay, so we need to grab the bold, italics, drag through, and underline icons to put them up on the user control, and then we need to basically reestablish the 16 colors, pretty much like we did before. I'm kind of thinking that we'll see if we can set them up so they follow some kind of lengthwise or widthwise smaller button setup thingamajig something. We'll see how we can make it look. Okay. So all right. Like we had on the custom text dialog, just to recap quickly, on the custom text dialog, we used an array of rectangles for dual purposes. One of them was to draw the actual surface of each individual color. The other was to act as a hitbox for detecting when the mouse is over or inside one of these colors. The same for the text formatting buttons. We also used a rectangle to handle those. So we'll do something similar here. And then set up drawing of the colors so we can allow for editing of the actual text formatting and coloring, just like we did on the custom text dialog. The question then becomes whether we should split them up like we did in this one. We had one array for handling the colors, the 16 colors, and we had one for handling the 4 format buttons. We'll see where we end up going with this, since we kind of need a different setup for it, I guess. We also need to add in a control mechanism that will let us control whether this should be rendered as if it was a chat message, or if it's a MOTD message. No, it's not possible. The 16 colors that exist within the game itself are basically hard-coded into the game. So there's no way to add a 17th color to it at all. The only way you can do that is basically by reverse engineering the source code for the game, implementing a 17th color, and then recompiling it. But then it won't be compatible with anything else out there. So no, it's not possible. They're all hard-coded. Um, yeah, well, there are a lot of things that a lot of us wish was different from Minecraft, but it just hasn't happened. So we'll have to accept the fact that certain things are just annoying and difficult with Minecraft. Nothing new there. It's been like this basically from the beginning. Um, the second year that Minecraft existed, we were using the Bucket servers back then. Mojang started promising us a proper modding API for Minecraft itself. We still do not have an official we still don't have an official modding API, hence why we are using Forge, which basically does the same thing, but that's not the official way to mod the game, because Mojang never got around to actually doing it, even though they did promise it years ago. There are branches of server builds similar to what Bucket and Spigot were. Spigot, as far as I know, is still somewhat active, but since it isn't 100% based on Bucket and therefore not applicable to the DMCA, Spigot is still patchable and workable for plugins, and there's also a they started a fresh project, plugin based, similar to what Bucket and Spigot were in the past. Sponge, I think it's called, which does the plugin as well. So that's basically what's being used today. So there are alternatives out there that allow for plugins, and plugins are still being developed for the newer versions. Pretty much pick any random vanilla community out there and you'll run into something similar to Spigot or Sponge or whichever branch they're using. It's my bot. He's just here to help us out a little bit. Might help if I actually spelled it correctly. There we go. "64 kilobyte code segment." That's the old restriction from back in the DOS days. We had a 64 kilobyte code segment, and we had a 64 kilobyte data segment, and that was it. So you couldn't expand those in any way, shape, or form. Slow Fox Prize. No offense. Nice one. All right, so let's see if we can get some stuff done here. We we'll need to grab the four text formatting buttons as well. So we'll have to put those in something that will let us render them as actual. Interesting. Why don't we? Oh yeah. When you do the Visual Studio install, don't just click next, 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 next. Go through the package stuff that the installer will present you with, and pick the packages that you think you will need. You can always change them later, but it is by far easier getting them installed as part of the initial package selection. If you just click next, 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 it'll install a lot of junk that you will probably never need. And the total size of the install can be fairly big if you just use the default setups. So make sure you go through the package selection before you click the final next. Just a word of advice. I've seen these Visual Studio installs go as big as 50 gigabytes of stuff, so it's definitely worth spending the few minutes it takes to go through the packages. If you don't plan on doing any kind of cloud service handling using Microsoft's Azure stuff, then don't install the packages. There's no need for them. And yes, all of the individual segments of each individual stream is available on my YouTube channel. I know that I haven't linked to it just yet. I will get around to doing that as well, but just too much stuff to do. Where was I? Oh, right. We needed to fetch those text formatting bitmaps. We need those in there, which is part of that setup. Yes. Yeah, we'll see. I guess most of it we can do pretty much the same setup, except we need to make it look a little bit differently. So we can have it. Let's see. We know that the 18. Let's see. The font itself, this one, is basically an 8 by 8 pixel glyph setup. Plus, we've added 1 pixel on the height to make room for underline. So if we do a quick calculation here, that's 9 per line, so that's 18 to make room for 2 lines. And double up, that becomes, let's see, 36. So we need a height of at least 36 to be able to render this correctly. On top of that, we of course need an additional 16 pixels for the formatting, text formatting icons. So we'll see if we can make this work for whatever size this control ends up having. But let's see. It's currently set at 657, so let's go, I don't know, 650, that looks fine, and then 170, that should be fine too. We'll set that as the default size for it. That should be fine, and then we'll calculate where we need to place stuff in here as we start the rendering of them. All right, let's see. Don't need this visible. Let's see what we have here. Color hitboxes, format hitboxes, and the formatting icons. So I guess we can use pretty much the same thing. Yeah, might as well. All right, let's grab some of this stuff and migrate it over here. And maybe get it cleaned up a little bit. There we go. Like so. And let's see if we can grab some of the other stuff in here. The control tag deals with the text box. So this we will probably have to change a little bit to make it work properly. Because it kind of depends on which of the two text boxes has focus at the moment, so we may actually have to run those two text box controls. No, actually, we have the variables for them, so we can just check those to see which one has focus and then do the editing there. Yeah, that should be fine. But we'll need to modify that a little bit. Build color hitboxes, build format hitboxes. Basically the same thing, except we need to place them differently. So we'll see if we can yeah, we'll have to make some new ones. All right. Right. Let's see. What I wanted to do is I basically want to see if I can build up something similar to a toolband like this in terms of the way that the colors are listed and the text formatting buttons are listed. So the only major difference there will of course be that the color stuff, whether we should list those first and then the formatting icons at the end of the colors, or if we should do the colors set up like these are, as in setting them up in two lines like this, so we can kind of group them together. I'm kind of thinking that we'll try and keep a setup like this, and then we'll grab the bold and italic and put them on the upper line, and then put the strike through and the underline on the lower line, and set them up like that. Yeah, I think we'll do that. That should be fine. So that would be here, which means that we definitely need to do that as a const. There we go. All right, let's get these built somehow. Okay, so we know that the where are we? Right here. These icons are 16 by 16 pixels, so we kind of need to stick within those. So if we assume that each of these individual buttons will basically be a 16 by 16 setup, and then follow the border stuff that we previously had, then we offset that by, let's see, 2 pixels, so that means they will become 20 by 20. So we need at least 40 pixels height on the user control to have sufficient room to display the colors and the text formatting icons correctly. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get that done somehow. All right, so build, actually, method, build, no, hang on. What were these called originally? Build color hitboxes and build format hitboxes. Yeah, I'll grab those. Copy. There we go. And then we'll change them so they match the sizes that we're going to need. The original color hitboxes and original formatting hitboxes were set up in comparison to the text box that was in there. So we will not be using that here, so we'll definitely need to change those. Okay, so box width, we just determined that we need these to be 16 and 16, so we'll fix those. And here is the height, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'll go through and do this a little bit differently. Since this no longer depends on a text box. Right. Okay, so if each of these take up 16 by 16 plus 2 plus 2, that's 20 by 20. So we can probably recalculate these a little better. I have a majorly annoying fly here. Get lost. Annoying little thing. All right. So the eye actually determines where we are going to put these. So let's change this. Yeah, Y position. That would then be the user controls height minus, let's see, 2 times box height plus, we'll do another one called box padding, which is 2 times box padding. So that should be fine. All right. Then this needs to be changed, and that should be fine. That should be fine. All right, so this would then be the I times basically 2 times box width plus 2 times box padding. Offset a little bit. X position, so yeah, we'll need to go through I times, let's see, box width plus 2 times box padding, and then we need to subtract 1 padding to get it. No, actually we need to add 1 plus box padding. That should be it. All right. And then the second one down here, since this is the second line, we'll need to offset this one by box height plus 2 times box padding, like so. And then we can get rid of box spacing. That should be fine. And just to remember that we actually have to do this, we'll go down in the control load event and put a call to build color hitboxes, and then we'll go fix the format hitboxes. These will be a little bit different though. Interestingly enough, this actually says 23. we need 2. Oh, hang on. No, we're adding 4, so that should be fine. Oh well, whatever. Um, yeah, we'll see if we can get this stuff. For now, we will do these like so, and then color codes. Yeah, I know it's assigned but never used. Alright, so if the color hitbox stuff, and that was my phone going off, I shall be right back. And we're back again. There we go. Today's panic done and over with, hopefully. Where were we? Yes, right here. Let's see. If this thingamajig has a length greater than 0, this is basically the array of rectangles that will serve as both hitboxes and the actual drawing surfaces. So we'll put those on here, and actually just because we can, I think we will move them down here outside and have them be rendered right away. At least then we can start doing a little bit of debugging on the surface of this user control, so we can see what it looks like so far and see if we need to change anything with it. So let's see if we can go through and find the rendering stuff to form. In this case, we are rendering to a user control surface, so basically need to do the same thing, except let's see, that would be the color index stuff. Yeah, we only basically just need this for now, and then we'll figure out whether we want to put, we should probably put those let's see, whoops, no, this one still needs to be there. There we go. Okay. And this should be fine. So let's try and build this quick. We need to build it in order to be able to drop it on a form. So let's see what happens, and that's the result so far. Okay. So these are not particularly big, I know. But then again, the actual text formatting icons are not particularly big either, so we should be good. We still need some hover effects and whatnot, so let's see if we can get rid of that one. And then the reason I deleted the user control was to prevent an exception from occurring within the IDE that can occur if you make changes to user control and don't rebuild before you focus on the design tab of a form that contains the user control. You could end up with it showing a stack trace because some bug occurred that prevents the UI from being drawn. So the easiest way to get past that particular issue is to delete the user control from the form, fix the code, and then re-add it, and then go through it that way. All right, so next up, we'll see if we can add in let's see, we need to build the text formatting hitboxes as well. So we'll see about getting that done. And these we basically need to place next to the colors. So we'll have to see if we can calculate how far in we need to put those extra boxes to get them to fit correctly in here. And as we can see, these currently don't change with the size of the control because we haven't hooked the resize event, and actually we shouldn't have to do that since it's set to, oh right, resize redraw is set, but it doesn't always work within the IDE itself for some reason. Anyway, we need to set up the text formatting buttons or icons as well. So let's see if we can calculate those. We don't need that. These are 16 by 16, and we had a box padding in here of 2, sorry. And then we probably need to calculate an x position, which would be something like 8 times box width plus box padding times 2. So we'll do like so. Wow, it's lagging at the moment. Holy smokes. Just a sec here. Maybe that helps a bit. We'll see. Okay, so 8 times the width of the box plus 2 times padding for each. So we'll grab the padding, and this should give us a correct x position for this. And then we'll do the y position calculation, just pretty much like this one up here, because we need the icons placed basically at the same offset. Though here, here we'll set them up as a lowercase. There we go. All right, so let's see if we can, for this one, we kind of need to, let's see, divide it by 2 maybe, and then we'll do a double setup for, yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so here, first one would then be the x position plus a box padding, and this one would be the y position straight up, and then we'll replicate this for the lower line, which would be the exact same x position, but the y position is offset a little bit, which is basically the same as this one. So like that. And then this one will be +2 because we're moving 2 buttons further up. There we go. And these we will have to 1 and 2. Yeah, we'll just run through those up here and set those up. We'll move that out of this loop and then do less than format hitboxes length f++, and then do them here instead to load up the icons, and we should be fine. Okay, so let's see. In the rendering stuff, let's see if we can get those rendered as well. Basically the same thing. If the format hitboxes have a length greater than 0, then loop through them and see about drawing them. So that would be the, oh, actually we can probably go fetch that from in here somewhere. That would be this one, draw rectangle, fill. Yeah, let's grab this one. This would be the one we need in here. There we go. And let's see what this looks like now. Again, we'll build so that we can drop it on here, and the icons are not getting drawn, which is because we haven't placed a call to get them initialized, of course. Makes sense. So we'll need this one in the load event, which is down here, just like on the original form. So let's build this one. Build succeeded. Let's drop that on there, and they are being rendered but not in the right location, and they're not being moved further in as they were supposed to. So we'll need to fix that. Alright, so let's go back up here. The reason they didn't get moved is because we didn't let's see. Oh, right, yeah. The X position was not moved, so let's do that, which would then be adding the box width plus 2 times the box padding. God, it's laggy right now. And then the Y position is off a little bit, so we shall see if we can get that moved. So we will subtract box padding times 1 from there and see what it looks like now. Built. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so that helped a little bit, though we're still somewhat offset in terms of placing them. So we'll have to check the code to figure out why. And I think this is because these are offset here. So we'll need to remove those like so. And then let's see where it puts them now. There we go. Almost in the correct position. So they're still a little bit offset for some reason. So we'll see if we can get that fixed a little bit up and over. That should be fine. Let's go down here and wow, this is really bad. Holy smokes. Honestly, I'm not too impressed with the latest update for Visual Studio 2017. Ever since the update last week, the entire text editor has just become super laggy and super slow. And it becomes laggy and slow so quick. And it basically forces you to restart the entire IDE 50 times a day when you're doing work with it. Not impressed, Microsoft. Definitely not impressed. Okay, so let's see if we can actually, why don't we just yeah, let's graphics fill rectangle, and we'll use brushes that one, and then the format hitboxes, and see what this actually looks like. That's not what I wanted to do. Build it and put them on here. Okay, so the rectangles are definitely offset on the Y position, so we'll need to get them back in line. Let's see, that would be the X and the Y position, so something's definitely up with this Y placement for some reason. Oh, this needs to be plus. Let's see if we got it. Yeah, that's still off, so this needs to be removed. There we go. Build this again. Wow. There we go. Now we've got them in place where they need to be. Okay, so we can remove the background for the icons for now, and then get them just drawn as they are, and then we'll do the hitbox checking and the hover stuff, and see if we can get them to basically act as if they were reacting to yeah, the typical mouse event handling stuff. All right. Would you mind saving? Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm planning to basically move these, the rendering of the color boxes and the text formatting stuff. Sorry, get them set up so that they basically are only rendered when text boxes are active. So at some point I'm going to move the rendering code for drawing the colors and such inside this if statement. So they only show up whenever text boxes are set up for them for the user control. One thing that I do need to figure out though is, let's get this built once more just to make sure. We still kind of need to work out where to put the control codes so that we can work out which code shows which color. So here the trick is then to figure out whether we should put the text 0 through 9, A through F on top and below the color settings, or if we should put them next to them. I'm kind of thinking that I would like to basically expand these a little bit so that they become twice the width, and then we'll put the actual code for them in there, similar to how we did it before, except here I'm gonna render the control code to the left of say the color or the text formatting tag, and then put them in as part of the mouse over effect, so we will effectively get a slightly bigger button effect out of this, make it look nicer. So to accomplish that, we may need to at least we will need to rework the positioning of these particular rectangles. And we should probably think about maybe making them, say, twice the width, and then doing some different kind of handling of them. Yeah, we'll probably do that. Ow! Stupid thing. My toe. I think I broke my toe. Ouch. Pardon me. I banged my toe against the post leg of the table. That hurts. All right. Yeah, we'll need to rethink this a little bit because I would like those. Yeah, crybaby. Don't tell me you've never stumped your pinky toe up against a table leg. Um, yeah, the table is okay. Shut up, you derp. uh, all right, we definitely need to rethink these. So we'll have to redo them a little bit and see if we can um, get this working in a better way. Because now we will be constructing custom hitbox things that basically contain both the tag information as well as the actual thing that this particular hitbox is associated with. So for example, a color or a text formatting thing. So I think I'll trash these and redo them. We know that we need these, and we also need the whatchamacallums, the control codes for the text formatting, so we can put those in there. But these we may want to change a little bit over, so we'll see. Alrighty, have a great day, Calaria, and thank you very much for stopping by. And I hope to see you again. Let's see, these we need to rebuild. Yeah, definitely. All right, so this we need to rebuild as well. We'll do each of these, let's see, 32 by 16. Yeah, that should be fine. And then we'll do the hover effect. Yeah. Yeah, that should be fine. All right, so yeah, we'll get rid of this and then redo them. And then we'll see if we can figure out a better way of handling this stuff. So let's get rid of this, and we'll get rid of these because we need to redo them anyway. And yeah, I know these no longer exist. Whoops. There we go. I'll get rid of those, and then we'll see what other setup we can work out. So yeah, we'll do a hitbox thing and then an index cross-referencing thingamajig to calculate them instead. All right, so for this we'll still need the rectangular array, and then we'll just call it hitboxes. And there we go. We'll probably need to, yeah, we'll do the bitmap array as well for the icons, formatting icons, and then do something to set them up. Formatting icons, there we go. It is actually a little bit difficult keeping things flowing when Visual Studio suddenly decides, oh, I'm just going to start lagging for no good reason. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so here we'll need 4 of these, and then we will go fetch them from, gotta have them in here somewhere. See, the weird thing about this awful lagging thing that it does is that for whatever reason it only starts happening when you start typing. As soon as you stop typing and go ahead and scroll the text, no problem. No problem at all. So weird. And it's only started happening since the last update. So I'm kind of wondering if somebody at Microsoft derped up during this update and did something to basically break the editor. Don't know. It is weird. Alright, so and the last one right there. But then again, it's not the first time this has happened, so formatting icons, there we go. And actually we could probably just do this instead. So yeah, let's do that. We'll do this curly bracket close there, and then we'll just do that one, which is then index 0. And this one, which is then index 1. And this one as index 2. And this one as index 3, and we should be done. There we go. Alright. Same thing, different setup. Alright. These we definitely need to initialize, so let's go down and get those initialized. There we go. And then we'll need to work out how to set up the hitboxes for this. So we'll need to figure out exactly how many of these custom hitbox things we need. So we definitely need 16 for the 16 colors, plus 4 for the formatting stuff, so that's 20, which means basically 10 per line. So we'll, let's see, EFG, so we'll need to build it here somewhere. Method, build hitboxes. There we go. Get these set up, then we need 20 of these. However, for this new setup, these rectangles will basically only be for actual area detection and basically the inside of where this needs to go. So we'll have to do some extra calculations to get these to render in the correct spots. But we know that we need 20 of these, so we might as well just set them up right away. 20. There we go. And then we need to calculate the placement of them. For that, we basically need to do something similar to the other one. Let's see. We need 6 box width is 32 pixels. Hopefully that's enough to draw the control code for it. Should be. And then we have a box height of 16 pixels. Would you please stop this lagging? Thank you very much. There we go. And then we need a little bit of padding, which is basically 2 pixels above, 2 pixels below, 2 pixels to the left, and 2 pixels to the right. So that effectively makes it a total of 36 pixels wide and 20 pixels high or tall. So we'll add the box padding here. There we go. And then we will loop through and figure out exactly where to place these. So to make it a little easier, we'll do an X and a Y position. Initially, the X position, of course, will be 0, but the Y position will be a little bit different because we need these to align to the bottom of the user control. So that basically means the height of this, which is the user control, and then we need to subtract, since we have 2 lines of these, we need to apply this twice, which is then the box height plus 2 times the padding. To get the top and the bottom padding, we should be good. There we go. Then we'll loop through these. And in this case, we need to loop through only half of them, so we can do the X position and the Y position for 2 at a time. There we go. All right, so first one, the upper, which is just the initial ones, equals new rectangle, and there we go. So for this we need to specify the X position. We also need to specify the Y position as is, and then the let's see, the X position actually needs to be X plus the box padding, so we can get it in the right spot, and the Y plus box padding, so we can get it in the right spot, and then the box width and the box height. There we go. So that should be fine. And then the same thing for the line below. In this case, that will be plus 10. So we start off at the second line. Wow. I swear to you, I'm not on a crappy machine. Alright, so X plus the box padding, which is identical to the other one to get the X position right. However, in this setup, we need to add a little bit more to the Y position, which of course is the box height plus 2 times the box padding, and then we need to add a further set of the box padding to get the Y position to the correct spot. So this would be the box height, and this would be the box width. There we go. So now these are set up, and then to debug them, we will just render a, I don't know, some random chosen color of these to show where they are supposed to be sitting. So we'll put them up here for, oh, actually we need to check that they hit boxes length greater than 0. Then we need to loop through them. Less than hit boxes length, and then we will draw them and see if we can get them lined up correctly. Alright, so let's see. Good one. Yeah. All those poor boxes, they get hit left, right, and center for everything. It's kind of unfair. Alright, so here we need to do a fill thingamajig, so we'll pick some random color. Guess we'll use that one. Not particularly good. We'll use this one. And then here, of course, the triangle that has been hit. Put that up, and we'll see where these are positioned. Okay, so we forgot to do something, that's for sure. All right, let's see if we can fix the bug, which should be fairly easy to fix, since this is basically just the x plus the box width plus 2 times the padding. Should be enough. And let's go through this again and see. Okay, so at least we got some of it set up correctly. Not all of it, but some of it. Seems that we might have accidentally swapped these two. Yep. This is supposed to be the width, and this is supposed to be the height. There we go. God. There we go. All right. Let's check one more time just to be sure. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Now, the whole idea is to do some kind of 3D hover effect thingamajig, a little bit like these, except maybe use the light and dark shades of the the control surface. So let's see if we can wow. Let's see, do we have some kind of light? Light sky blue, yeah, why not? We'll use that. And then this would then, of course, be the hitbox, x position -2, hitbox y position -2, and then plus width +1, and the y position -2. We'll see where that goes. Should be fine. Okay, so that happened. Wasn't exactly supposed to look like this, but we'll see if we can figure out why. Let's see, this should only... oh, that's why. Because I'm a derp. This is supposed to be hitbox width, not the control width. There we go. All right. Let's try this again. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So the distance should be correct. Let's see if we can get the side on it as well, just because. These, of course, will eventually be translated into basically a hit detection, so a light sky blue, an index reference check. So it doesn't matter that we basically don't need these right now, because we can easily convert those over to the correct checks later on. and this would then be the x minus 2 and the hitbox height, y plus height plus 1, and that should be it for the side. Let's see if we got that placed correctly. There we go. It looks all right. We still have 2 pixels spacing there, so that should be fine. And then we'll add in the final, and for that we will use a different color. Let's see, we'll use I don't know. Yeah, we'll use this one. So that would then be the x plus the width, hitbox width, of course, plus 1, and the y position minus 2. Actually, why don't we just do minus 1? So this would be for the right hand shadow line, hx plus the width of it plus 1, and then the hitbox h dot y plus the height of it and plus 1. Let's see where it ends up. Whoops, typo. There we go. Okay, so that's actually pretty difficult to see. Let's pick a different color. Do we have a bright magenta? Yeah, let's use that. It should be in the right location though. Draw a line, pens, magenta. Wow. What on earth is going on? This is so weird. Oh well. The X position, and just to avoid getting entangled with the bright shadow of the 3D effect to the left of the hitbox area, we'll just subtract 1 instead of 2. That should put us in the right position, letting the bright area of it be basically dominant. Hitboxes, Y position plus the height of it. And we'll leave it at the height for now to see if we get it placed in the right position. X plus the width of it, and then again the Y hit and the Y position plus the height of it. There we go. Let's see where it places it. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted to build it, and then we'll see where it goes. All right. So, right. So for the most part, it looks somewhat correct. It's placing the let's see, the right hand darker shadow, which is currently showing up as magenta, in the correct position. Just for the sake of it, we'll do this quick so we can see them. Let's see, do we have hate this junk. There we go. So this is what it looks like at the moment, which kind of indicates to us that the lower dark shade placement is incorrect, which would be the bottom line. That would be this one down here. The bottom magenta line needs to move one further down, but the rest of it looks like it's placed correctly. So let's see if we can move that one further down, which is this line. So we need to add one to the actual height right here, and the same goes for this one, and this should then place it in the right location. Build, and then put it back on there, and let's grab another copy of it and see if it's placed correctly now. No. Paste this, grab the zoom, and now it looks correct. There we go. So if we change this to basically grab some different colors and start hooking it into actual hover events, then we will end up having a 3D effect whenever the mouse is hovering over one of these. So that should be fine. All right, let's get rid of this, and then we'll go over here, and for this, of course, we will need a hit index. Wow. This is getting insane. Alright, so we'll need to do, let's see, last hit index equals -1 for now. We will put it at, say, I don't know, 2, for example. Just for the sake of, again, testing this. If h equals last hit index, then all of this needs to be drawn. Bright part of 3D effect, dark part of 3D effect. There we go. So for this, we have to change this a little bit. So we will use the system pens, which basically ties into the current color theme of Windows, and I believe this one should be sufficient. Most controls use the system pens or system brushes .control as the surface color, and then the control light and control dark part of them make up the 3D effects shadings for them. So dark, and since we're drawing with a a line, we need to use the pen. Otherwise, we would have needed to use a brush instead. So we've got system pens, system brushes, and system colors. They all map into these, so we can use them directly. Build this. Now let's see what it looks like. Okay, so something went wrong here, which means the the bright part of the shading has a bug in it somewhere. So let's see if we can find it. Which should be this one, and the bug is right there. It's supposed to be the hitbox height, not the control height. There we go. Build this again. Let's see what it looks like, and grab a copy of this, And there we go. We now have a 3D effect. Of course, at the moment, it'll look kind of weird because the control is basically adopting whatever color the parent container has, which means these particular shadings will not look correct. If memory serves, we will probably need to set the pens to control light and control dark to get the correct 3D effect out of them, but we'll see. It's something that we can change later on. At the moment, we know that we have the effect pretty much in place, so we should be fine there. The next part of it will, of course, be to render these setups so we can get the color squares back on and the correct control code text stuff done. So we can render these and get them to actually look like at least the references that we need for these. So those are set up, we should be fine. Okay. All right, so for this we have to change this because currently it builds up a brush or a surface that takes up the entire hitbox area, and we basically only want it to take up part of it, namely the rightmost part of the hitbox. So for this we will need to do a little bit of recalculation. The hitbox itself only takes up the actual area needed to draw a 16 by 16 surface. So to get this working, we kind of need to work out whether we need to draw an icon or a color surface. Let's see. We'll go through if h is less than 8, that's the initial 8 colors, then we'll need to render those. If it's 8 or 9, then that needs to be the first two text formatting icons. So we'll do if it's 8 or 9, then we need to render the first two formatting icons. If it's let's see, 10 to actually greater than 9, and it's less than 1918, then lower 8 colors, and this would then be the higher 8 colors, and then finally the last two formatting icons. There we go. Wow. Right. Okay, so this part would be fairly straightforward, since this is basically just doing a holy smokes, fill rectangle. For this we need a solid brush coupled with the Minecraft colors, get color, which would then of course be the index reference like that. Let's get these split up a little bit so we can see what's going on. There we go. Next part of it is, of course, is the actual rectangle that we want to draw. For this purpose, we need to create a new one because the hitbox itself will not do the trick. So here we will do the current hitbox X position plus 16 because we need to offset by half the width of the hitbox. We know it's 32, so we'll add 16 to it. We'll need to use the exact same Y position, and then we basically specify a 16 by 16 area for it, and that's pretty much it. Now for the higher 8 colors, we basically need the same thing, except we need to offset the index of it so it fits correctly, which means we start at 10, and since the higher part starts at 8, we kind of need to subtract 2 from this. So we'll subtract 2 to get the correct color index. However, the position of the box is still in line with the counter. So we'll put that up. And here we need to draw the formatting icons there. And this, of course, would be h minus 8 because the first one is at index 0 and the second one is at index 1, which means 9 minus 8 equals 1, fairly straightforward. And this, of course, is the current hitbox X position, again plus 16, and its Y position. There we go. And for the last two formatting, we start at 18, and we need to end up at 2. So 18 minus 16 equals 2. So we'll need to subtract 16 there. Should be fine, and we'll see if this actually works. Let's get this built and see what happens. Nice. There we go. See, these are now spaced out, so we have enough room to add in the actual control characters that belong to each of these. Since we're basically looping through these with offset indexes and positions and whatnot, we can basically set up a list of these control characters in the same order that we are currently rendering these. So we'll do that. Of course, we still need to remember which of these is what, which at the moment I can't, but the chat converter can probably tell us that. Let's see, there we go. So L is bold, M and O, and so on and so forth. So these can definitely tell us the order of things. So let's see. Basically, we only need these when we are rendering this stuff. So we'll do a string control symbols. Letter. And we start off with 7 colors, and then we have the bold, which is L, And following that, we have the icon for italic, which is O. And then we continue the colors 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And we finish off with strike through, which is M there. And finish off with underlined, which is N, like so. So that puts the control letters in there. And then we basically just need to render those control letters according to the current hitbox position, except let's see, hitbox, this would be the for loop, so let's see that one. Yes, there we go. Let's see, I'll put the text formatting in here. So graphics, drawstring, which of course will be the control letters. There we go. Like so. And for this we need to specify whatever font we want to use. We'll just use the font of the control. We'll use a system brush, which will be the control text. Alrighty, you have a good walk, Sass. Great to see you again, mate. And do enjoy the weather. I'm going for a walk later today too, but gotta finish with you guys first. Alright, so for this I would like to try and align this at least somewhat within the area. So we'll just set up a 16 by 16 rectangle, which is left aligned within the hitbox. So pretty much the same thing as above. So we'll create a new rectangle here. And that would be the hitbox, not the hotbox X position. The hitbox, whoa, strange things are happening. The Y position, of course, and then we'll do the 16 by 16 as before. And then I want to add in a string format. If this stuff would please stop lagging like this. Wow, Microsoft, get your stuff together, please. The regular alignment, center this, and the line alignment, let's see. When you specify the string format stuff, alignment refers to horizontal alignment, and the line alignment refers to the vertical alignment. And in this case, I want to set both of those alignments to be centered, so the actual control character or control letter will be centered within a 16 by 16 pixel area. So it'll be set up like that. So that's there. So this should now draw those control characters, and I didn't want to start it up, no. I just needed it built. There we go. We now have the codes associated with them as well. All right, you have a great day, Oz. Great to see you again. Enjoy the weather. I hope it's decent for you as well. And see you next time. We got the control codes correctly rendered next to each individual formatting setup, so those are in place now. One more thing that we could do is that we could grab these particular new effectively custom buttons that we're building and center them within the control itself. If we so desire. For now, I think I'll just leave them left aligned as is. And I'm actually contemplating let's see. Should we do some centering of those? Nah, we'll leave them there. That should be fine. Okay. So we'll grab the mouse event stuff and then do a hitbox check and put them up there and see if we can actually get that 3D hover effect working, which would be nice. So let's see, formatting icons are there, the hitboxes are there. That one we don't need. We need a get hit index, so we'll do that. Get hit index, and this one will of course make use of our rectangle array that currently contains the hit areas, which we're also using to correctly position drawing the colored squares and the icons for the text formatting stuff. So we'll use this. For this, of course, we need to work out whether the mouse position is within these areas or not. So we'll have to pass those. And similar as before, this hit index, in this case we kind of had to pass the array of rectangles because we had two different lists of hitboxes. In the new setup we only have one, so we can just tie that straight in, and then do the checks as per usual. So we'll grab a copy of this, and as has been previously mentioned, this of course can be done with a simple combined check, contains check, to make it a little easier using the libraries. Whoops, like so. For reference, these checks can also be done via if hit boxes contains new point mouse X, mouse Y. There we go. This then checks the hit index, and that's something that we can easily do down here by fetching it. Get hit index EX and the Y position, and if this hit index doesn't match the previous one, then we'll update the previous one with whatever hit index we now have and invalidate the surface so it can be redrawn. Okay, so let's do a quick build of this. There we go. And put it on here just so we can see it. And then we'll do a quick run of the application, because these things like mouse move and mouse click and such, they don't work in the IDE. We actually have to run the application to see them working. But they seem to be working just nicely. So we now have a 3D hover effect thingamajig that reacts to each of these individual custom areas. We still have to implement the click functionality for them, but that's fairly simple and straightforward. However, I think we will go ahead and do that next time, which will be Wednesday next week, as I will not be able to stream on Friday. So yeah, next time we'll get the rest of this stuff done so we can finish off the new configuration dialog and basically get rid of all the extra junk that we've got in here right now. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll call it a day for now. Thank you everyone for joining in. It was great to see everybody again, and I'll catch you next week. Do enjoy the weather and have a nice day.